No. Damn it, Mags, you're jamming my flow. I told you to go around during showtime.
Sorry.
Jobs, don't they suck? Once you reach the age of 15 or 18, you're kind of expected to get one, whether it's cleaning toilets or stocking shelves or being a pet food taster. I'm not kidding, that's a real job where real people sit in a room and taste pet food.
Help yourself to some product.
And this is how seriously they take their quality control. They eat the food themselves.
Well, that sounds better than my real job. Either way, whether we're doing it for cash or trying to get out of the house, we all ask ourselves the same question. What the hell are we doing here? Hello amigos, Ramen coming at ya. While scrolling through YouTube, I stumbled upon a 2-season show called Part Timers. A show about a group of crazy employees, one incompetent boss, and a porcupine played by none other than the man who made my actual childhood, Ian. Yeah, I said it, screw you Butch Hartman. Today, with the help of ZACQUINN, I thought I'd go over why I think Part Timers is a masterpiece of a show, and a true testament to what being a part-timer is. So get ready to feel underpaid and overworked, and let's dive into Part Timers.
Welcome to Porky Pines,
It's like Reno, but for kids.
where our staff is caring, courteous, and above all, professional.
Not this time, Schwartzman.
I'm Anton, the owner.
Anton can't control us. We do what we want when we want it! Who's with me? Who's with me? Let's do it! Let's go!
Look, you guys are my family, and your safety is my top priority.
There's so much to get done.
Drink. It's Kool-Aid with tree bark. Don't puke. Get some. Nope. You gonna lose that?
The idea of a workplace TV show is nothing new, but what makes them interesting? Is it the comedy, the overtop musical numbers that make you feel good? The answer is more complex than a simple yes or no answer. The most important aspect of a workplace TV show is location. When you confine 2 or more characters in one place, characters can start to form a bond. Dialogue sounds more natural. Take the green door from the IT Crowd, a door that remains in frame at all times throughout the show. But when Jen looks behind the door, she finds a guy dressed all black. That's when you realize, as a viewer, location means everything. Shows like Family Guy, for example, have so many cutaways. The location's always different, making it hard to feel drawn to the characters. Now, when you put Brian and Stewie in one place, no cutaways, you get character growth. There's so many shows like Workaholics, The Office, Parks and Rec that use the workplace as more of a home, a way to tell a story while being confined to one space. Why am I explaining this? Well, because it's the key to understand the show Part Timers, a workplace TV comedy that takes place in the fictional arcade called Porcupines. A place where you can get stuck on the roof for hours and get sunburn. A place where the boss is your friend, and that's pretty rare. A place where you can be yourself. Part Timers, interesting enough, was based on Ian's life working at Chuck E. Cheese as a young kid. A place where you'll probably get pink eye just by diving into the ball pit. The show premiered on YouTube on January 11, 2016. But what's weird is that this show was not on YouTube Red. This show was free. And you kind of get the feeling this was originally a YouTube Red show just by the way everything's structured, but it's not. This show was also produced by Defy Media. You know Defy Media, the company that screwed over a ton of YouTubers and stole their money and ran away. But this show being produced by Defy doesn't take away how great this show is. This show ran for 2 seasons, which is probably more seasons than what most YouTube Red shows go on for. While Part Timers doesn't have an epic or grand premise, it's quite unique. Part Timers is about a group of dysfunctional employees who work at a pizzeria/arcade and are very underpaid, like most part-timers. Somehow, these part-timers get into crazy situations. Ian is the mascot for Porcupines and Anthony is the dim-witted helpless manager that struggles to keep Porcupine open. While that sounds like a generic plot to a Nick show that probably will be cancelled in like one season, it's really more than that. Each character in the show has their strengths and weaknesses that makes them really unique. I think Ian and Anthony are probably the standout performances in this show. While yes, Anthony's acting was awful in the Smosh movie, he does a great job here. I think Anthony's better at playing a character that's helpless and requires a lot more attention. The show's main cast is what makes this show for me. We have Noah Grossman of Smosh as Pete, Casey Webb as Dinger, Jade Martz as Ella, Natalie Whittle as Lori, Kat Alter as Mads. I probably said half those names wrong. Sorry. Each cast member in the show portrays their characters very well, especially Casey Webb as Dinger. Fun fact, this show was sponsored by Schick Hydro Razors. So back in 2016, when this show aired, you will get a funny Schick Hydro ad with the cast members from Part Timers. It was kinda weird, but hey, the show needed to make money.
It's tradition to shave the new guy. Schick Hydro is designed like no other razor with a hydrating gel reservoir, not some lube strip.
Oh, that's pretty smooth. Dang it! It was my turn to shave the new guy.
So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break down season 1 and 2 and talk about the characters' progression and important story arcs. So, without further ado, let's get into...
Hello everyone, it's the Irishman himself, the funniest guy on the internet, ZACQUINN here, and I have hijacked Ramit's video to talk about the Smosh YouTube series, Part Timers. Now growing up, I loved watching Smosh. When I was a young little lad back in the day, I thought they were the funniest guys on YouTube. Their outrageous humor, along with Ian and Anthony's incredible dynamic, was amazing. They were the perfect YouTube channel to watch back in the early 2010s. Now when Smosh started to get big in popularity, they branched out to other forms of entertainment, such as gaming, animations, merch, and even feature films with mixed results. But one of the biggest spin-offs from Smosh was the YouTube web series Part Timers. I stopped watching Smosh around the time Part Timers was released, but I would occasionally watch it whenever I saw it on my YouTube feed. Years later, what do I think of Part Timers now? Well, first let's go over the plot. The main plot of the show is your typical workplace comedy, this time taking place in a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese called Porcupines, and we get to see all the wacky shenanigans the employees get up to at Porcupines. First, I'll go over the positives. I really like the workplace environment here. It's probably because I love workplace comedies like The Office, Parks and Rec, and the IT Crowd, and seeing a workplace comedy take place in a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese is really cool. And also, Ian and Anthony are amazing here. They are both hilarious in this show and have great banter with each other. They both have the same hilarious dynamic that they had in the old Smosh sketches. And the comedy here can be really funny sometimes, but most of the main jokes come from Ian and Anthony, and they left me dying of laughter. One of my favorite jokes in the whole series is in the first episode, where Ian and Anthony think the new worker is a private investigator looking to arrest Ian and Anthony for murder. What's funny is that Ian and Anthony don't even know if they murdered anyone or not. They just assumed they murdered someone. It shows how dumb they are, but also how funny the show can be. And some of the scenarios here can be really funny. Some of the scenarios can be pretty simple, like a health inspector showing up, or the new guy having a crush on one of his co-workers. It's simple, but it can be really funny at the same time. Also, the theme song to the show is actually really goddamn good. This is America, the land of dreams. I forget the rest of the lyrics, but it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Whoa, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh.
Seriously, dude.
Like, what the
That's my attempt at singing there. Now on to my negatives with the show. I really don't care for the side characters. They're not terrible characters, not at all. I like the manager and some of the co-workers can be pretty cool, but they just didn't leave me laughing like Ian and Anthony did. Even though Ian and Anthony are my favorite characters, they feel more like side characters than main characters. Again, I'm not saying they're terrible characters, not at all, because they do have some funny moments, but they just aren't that funny and didn't really leave an impact on me. And another negative, some of the jokes just kind of aren't really that good most of the time. I'm not saying the show is terribly unfunny because there are some really funny moments. Like when a joke lands, it lands really well, but when a joke falls, it falls really badly. Some of the jokes can be very unfunny and kind of cringe sometimes. In conclusion, while I wouldn't call Part Timers the greatest YouTube series of all time, it still has a lot of charm and has some really funny moments here with the characters. I would suggest watching the show if you just want a nice simple series to watch and have a little laugh. Anyway, thanks Ramen for letting me interrupt your video. Check out my channel, I make some pretty swag stuff. Hope y'all have a swag day, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye, lads.
Well, thanks so much, Zach. I don't know why you hijacked this video, but glad you liked the show, man. Anyway, with that interruption over, let's go over Season 1. Season 1 of Part Timers starts off really strong. The show finds its balance between humor and heart. The first episode starts with a fake out, when the new employee Scooter comes in and is happy to work as a part-timer at Porcupines. But Scooter is killed in 2 minutes, and we get our main character, Pete. Now you would think since Ian and Anthony made the show Part Timers, they're the main characters. They're not. The main character is for sure Pete. Pete is sort of a stand-in for what most of us go through during puberty and working at a part-time job. Pete's main goal in the end is to get Mads to fall in love with him. While in Season 1 we sort of get close to Pete and Mads being boyfriend and girlfriend, the relationship is sort of halted as Pete accepts that he and Mads should just be friends. The show follows the trope of girls having feelings for a guy, but the guy then says, let's just be friends. While I was watching Season 1, I was kind of hoping for Pete and Mads to get somewhere in their relationship, but they don't. It's sort of like a Pam and Jim type of thing, and it can get kind of annoying throughout the season. While Pete is the main character and the story revolves around him, Dinger is by far my favorite character, having a man-child sort of vibe to him, in sort of the same vein as Jack Black, with him being the guy who manages the prize counter at Porcupines. Dinger goes through 0 character progression and is either getting stuck on the roof or starting his own weird cult with the cast of Warp Zone. If you don't know what that channel is, please search it up because they make some bomb sketches. And they also have Smosh Games in one of the episodes with Warp Zone. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I miss Smosh Games.
What are you doing?
We're taking our payment.
You're not stealing our balls.
Balls? These are gravitons. And we had a contract.
No, we didn't.
Episode 1, Section 3, the contract states...
Okay, this is real life. You do not steal balls from kids, you dinger-nuts. Plus, you do not want to take these home. You know how many times we've cleaned these balls? Never. No time.
Dinger is the comedic relief of the show, and nothing more, which I'm fine with. Lori is what Kang calls...
Hey yo, what's good y'all? It's your boy Kang of Big Bro Toons, and I'm just quick here to say, Lori is a gaslight gatekeep girl boss, which we stand in this house, but more importantly, she is a thick, black queen!
Yeah, that. For the most part throughout the season, Lori's trying to keep Porky's from shutting down, by any ways necessary. Even if it means having you-know-what with the epic voice guy, which is by far my favorite episode in Season 1. Love me some epic voice guy. Lori, like I said, is the sort of mother figure. She sort of helps guide Pete and helps him understand what he's going through. But just because she's trying to keep Anton from making dumb decisions doesn't mean she's not as crazy as the rest of the Porky crew. My favorite episode with Lori is the last episode of Season 1, where we learn Lori has been in the country illegally, so Anton decides to marry Lori so she can stay in the country. This moment shows how Porky crew are more than just workers, they're family. Now Mads in Season 1 is your uptight, typical tight, responsible person, doing her best to spice up the Porcupine's pizza menu. For example, she made spinach pizza that caused everyone in the crew to get E. coli, throw up, and have diarrhea. That's a lot. Later on throughout the show, we learn Mads is trying to be a nurse. You know, at first, Mads is uptight and straight and narrow. Towards the end of the show, we see how vulnerable Mads can be, especially towards Pete. The story of Mads and Pete is similar to Jim and Pam from The Office. While at first they're not on the same page when they say they like each other, the relationship does get better as the show goes on into season 2. I'll explain later. Now, Ella to me is like the tough girl, you know, you don't want to mess with her. She does illegal drugs, she is sexually open, almost too open. You know, she does her own thing, like David S. Pumpkins. That's a reference to SNL? Please don't ask.
Any questions?
In season 1, we see Ella living in the ball pit at Porky's and is mistaken for a homeless person. But after Ella and Mads have a fight, they come to a decision. Why doesn't Ella just live with Anton? You know, it's never brought up in season 2 whether Anton or Ella are still living together, but one thing I can't forget about this episode is where Anton is woken up with Ella giving him a cup of hot soda. I think that's just freaking hilarious and one of my favorites. Oh yeah, Ella also likes Brazilian porcupines. Don't ask. It's too hard to describe. Just to let you know, it has something to do with you know what. I have noticed later in season 1, the show gets very sexual. You just check the comments because I'm not the only one who notices it. Now, Anton and Ian are both the glue that keep the crew tighter. In season 1, Anton and Ian are pretty much the dynamic duo. There's not one scene where I found them not funny. Ian being sarcastic and Anthony just being dim-witted. My favorite Ian episode from season 1 is the episode New Ian Sucks. The episode where Ian tries to be a good person and fails miserably. But when he does one good thing for Mads, Mads says there's hope for him yet. This episode also involves a nude painting with Lori eating a sandwich. Yeah, it gets pretty weird, like I said before. Season 1 of Part Timers started off really strong and ended really heartwarming. The show did a great job establishing all the main and side characters in the show. Whether it was Pete, Mads, or Dinger, each person had a time to shine. I do love how the last episode ends, and it's really touching. Now, let's go to season 2, shall we? Because this season gets really crazy. In season 2 of Part Timers, the writers knew what worked and what didn't. Like for instance, in season 1 of Part Timers, Ian is always in the porcupine suit, and he's always switching back and forth between the suit. Now, in season 2, the suit isn't really shown much. You mostly see Ian in orange pants and a gray tank top. For a very short season, all the episodes were crafted well, and it sort of moved the plot along. Yeah, a little too fast, but it is a pretty short season, and I'm assuming the show was split up into 2 because, you know, you gotta get that hype up. Season 2, episode 1 is pretty funny, and it's probably the funniest in the entire season. The episode is called Office Warfare. In this episode, Ian gets the upper hand on Lori by convincing Anton to use his power to make some changes, and a ton of crazy stuff happens. In the end, it is all fixed and Lori gets her power back. It was great seeing Ian finally use his sarcastic wit to outsmart Anton, and Anton trying to fight Lori, because we never really got that in season 1, and it was nice seeing that here. The entire episode's also pretty weird. You know, Ian's trying to get Friday off, but Lori won't let him. So Ian goes through all these hoops and hurdles and, you know, still doesn't get Friday off. And Lori's back in power. Lori, you should have just gave Ian Friday off. Come on. The writers leaned heavily on Pete and Mads' relationship a lot. Mads has come to terms with her feelings for Pete, but Pete still hasn't, and it can kind of get frustrating at times, like in season 1, because you can see there's something there, but the show doesn't give the relationship the time to mature. And if you're building up this relationship, show it, don't tease it. I would have loved to see an episode where P and Mads go on a date. That would have been a nice change of pace. I mean, we just get 2 episodes where they're finally together and it's pretty weird. I'll explain later. The flaws I have to say about this season is that it felt too contained and didn't try many new things. Like, the cast is never shown leaving Porky's or going home. Having a girls' night, I think, would have been a pretty cool episode. You know, it would give us some character growth. Usually when there's a second season, you expect change, but I think Part Timers was split into 2 seasons as opposed to being a whole show consisting of 20 episodes and then released at once. You could kind of tell it was one whole show and that the seasons were split because, yeah, 11 episodes in season 1 and 9 in season 2. This is just one whole show split apart. Come on. The fact that there are minor problems with the show going on to season 2 as they call it, the characters are still great. And I think Breaking Mads is an episode where Mads goes sugar crazy is a perfect example of how to break down a character. In this episode, Mads fails her nursing test and she goes sugar crazy, eating as much candy as she can. This episode gave Mads a little bit of vulnerability. Both Pete and Mads go through a pretty interesting character arc in this episode. Pete thinking he broke the law, but both Mads and Pete come together and have this heart-to-heart, and you can see Mads getting back to normal at the end of the episode and feel confident again. It's honestly a very well written episode.
Mads? Are you okay?
Kind of a rough day.
Yeah, me too. I did this like weird dance with the dark side for a while. But you know, if you really believe in yourself, you can come back from anything.
Pete, so wise.
I know, right? I read it on a Snapple cap. Anyway, bye Mads.
But not all episodes in season 2 are great. Like the episode where Ian and Anthony might be a father of a kid, or the Pork Olympics, a episode where they bring back Brazilian porcupine guy, and Ella uses her body to seduce him. The episode Friend Zone does give Ian and Ella some time to shine, and this on-screen chemistry is perfect. The pairing seems genuine and the friendship feels real. I really love Ian and Ella's dynamic together, and I wish they would explore that more in season 1. But at least season 2, you can see how well they work off each other. After a weird season 2, we only get 2 more episodes left, and these episodes focus on Pete and Mads' relationship. So, this 2-parter episode starts with Ian and Anthony in couples therapy, after realizing they don't like the same thing, and they feel like they lost their spark. This could be foreshadowing after what happened in the future when they split up, you know, cause Defy, yeah, a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. Meanwhile, Pete and Mads are trying to do their first kiss, but they keep being interrupted by Ian and Anton. This is where we get to the weird part. Mads tells Pete to bring the beard from season 1, and it only gets weirder, guys. Mads tries to pull off the beard and she falls off the roof. And then she survives, but then she gets hit by a car and then dies.
I'm okay! I laid it on a pile of car wash rags.
And and we didn't get to see their first kiss. But following the next episode, Mads is a ghost, and in order for her to move on, Pete has to do the nasty with her as a ghost. Pete doesn't want to do it because he will miss Mads, but Mads says there's nothing worse than being dead and living in porcupines. Yeah, that's probably how most Chuck E. Cheese employees feel. Pete has sex with Mads, and Mads moves on into the afterlife, and all is good. Yeah, season 2 was incredibly weird, but there are some big character changing moments for each character, except Dinger. But either way, the season was pretty good to get through. I just wish the characters went outside Porcupines for once, because everything feels so self-contained and each episode takes place in one location. And you know what? That is fine. I just wish season 2 would have tried a little harder, in my opinion. I do feel like the episode's writing kind of dipped the more the show went on. That's also just my opinion. I don't think season 2 is bad, but in terms of like character progression, it's okay. Not great, but okay. I think Part Timers is an amazing show. It's sort of a tribute to what being a teenager felt like, getting your first job, first kiss. It can all be kind of scary, but the more you grow, the more you learn and appreciate the people you surround yourself with, even if that job sucks. Even if you're a part-timer, make sure to shoot for the stars, cause it may suck now, but trust me, if you have a passion for something you love, there's no telling what you can do. I'd like to thank Zach for tagging along and being the swaggiest person in this video. My name is Ramen. Yeah, have a good night.
Hi Raz here, happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours. Ramen Retrospective is brought to you in part by my supporters on Ko-fi and viewers like you, thank you.
So yeah, I got a question for you. What kind of bird are you? I've always wondered. That's just my question. Can you explain your bird?
The bird is a shoebill stork. It's an endangered species, I believe, and it comes from Africa.
Who's the super cool cop? It always gets the bad guy. Donut boy! That's me, yeah. He brings a delicious assortment of sweet delights. Donut boy! Got a creamy filling.